Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. This is Franklin here. How are you doing? I hope you had an amazing and a very great weekend. And hopefully you had a lot of rice and sea, very plenty. Yeah, my weekend was awesome. It was really very great. I had an event on webinar that I hosted on Saturday. It was incredibly, wonderfully, amazingly splendid. But yeah, it went really very well. Very grateful to God. I spoke on how to live a well-rounded and a purposeful life, and I'm just very grateful for the people who showed up, and we just had a great time together. And I'll probably be hosting another webinar, God willing, in December. So stay tuned for that. So I wonder if you've ever been in a place where, or maybe you have been in a, whether you've been in a place where you have lost your joy and your peace. Maybe that's where you currently are right now. And you've lost your joy and your peace because you're almost always anxious. You're almost always worried. And obviously, it's maybe been the reason why you are not joyful anymore, or you don't feel much at peace anymore. If that is the case, I really know how that feels. I remember, um, honestly, first of all, before I share anything going on, moving forward, one thing that I have learned is that the areas of our lives where we feel the most anxious, where we feel the most unrest in, apparently happens to be the area where we have not completely surrendered to God. And I remember one of the first times that I heard that statement, it really hit me very hard because I felt that I was exactly where I was, and it was very, very applicable to me. Because I obviously everybody has their own journey, and I know that I've been on my own surrendering journey. It's definitely not been a topic or some it's not been an area that it's been let me put it this way, it's been an area that I've been struggling a lot with, this thing with surrender, because I remember, like, right from the get-go, I've always been this kind of person who always want to have control. Like, having control, having my own plan, wanting to just get things done the way that I want. So it became really very challenging and difficult for me to learn what it means to surrender, to surrender, like, my plan or my wills and my timing to God. And that was definitely something that I struggled a lot with, because I always felt that I could do a better job than God in making things happen. But one thing that I later came to realize was that I was having a hard time surrendering to God because I wasn't fully trusting Him. And I wasn't fully trusting Him because I felt that there were a number of things and events in the past that happened which I was somewhat very disappointed with God about. And there were areas that I felt I would have done something better compared to God. And that's one of the reasons, the major reason I would say, that caused me to not surrender completely and fully to God. But obviously, not surrendering completely and fully has its own consequences, right? The consequences would be that we would not feel that joy. We would lose our peace, right? We would lose our calm. And honestly, this year alone, I've been on, I've been focusing on that surrendering journey. I remember even this year, I was at a place where I literally was asking God to help me understand what it means to really surrender. Because again, like I mentioned, it's something that I've always struggled with, and I'm very grateful for the progress on my journey so far. And obviously, those times when I was struggling a lot with surrendering, when I knew I was not surrendering at all, and I was not even conscious of that area, I lost my joy. I was almost always worried. I was almost always anxious. I was almost always feeling sad. And I think it even happened to the degree that at some point people were asking me, why do you always, why you not, why you never, why are you almost not happy, right? So that's how terrible and bad it was. And the peace that I was not feeling, it always came with a lot of, like panic attacks, me being anxious and, terrified, especially when things don't go the way that I expected and I planned. But, as I started learning more about surrendering, it honestly brought about a new level of peace, a new level of joy. And the peace and the joy, they were coming not because every single thing is working as the way I have planned. It's not because I have every single thing that I've prayed for, but it's normally the joy and the peace. They normally come from knowing fully well that even though things may not be going the way that I want, even though I may not have exactly what I've prayed for now, and even though, say, my plans or my wills and my timing, they're not happening the way that I wanted, it's knowing fully well that that is fine as long as I trust in God's plan, I trust in God's timing, that everything would work out eventually for my good and for God's glory. That's really, I feel, what surrendering is. And so when we trust God more, we'll be able to surrender to Him more. So that's kind of like the direction it goes. And that's what I've always been banking on. But I think, sometime recently, I realized that it also goes the other way. In order for me to surrender, in order for me to trust God more, I need to surrender. And surrendering is not passive. It is very active. Surrendering literally means letting go of my plans, letting go of my ways, letting go of my own understanding, and taking like that leap of faith. Because when I do that, I'm going to really trust God more. Surrendering is an opportunity for us to trust in God more. Because when we let go of our own way and our own plan and do what we believe God wants for us to do, and we see the way that God shows up and comes through for us, it literally helps us to trust God more. So surrendering is not passive, it is active. So the more we get to surrender to Him, the more we get to trust. And as we keep doing that, our peace and our joy would become more and more real, more and more stable. And yeah, I believe that, I know for me, it's, again, an area that I continue to strive to make good progress in. But I know definitely that my level of surrendering, it comes also with different levels. There are new levels to surrendering. And I know for sure that my level of surrendering at the beginning of the year is definitely what it is right now. And I'm just very grateful to God for the progress. But the level of surrendering and trust in God, those two, they go hand in hand. We trust God more when we surrender to Him. And when we surrender, we're able to surrender to Him because we trust Him. So it goes hand to hand. And so if you're at the place right now where you feel that you have lost your joy and your peace, and maybe even your hope, perhaps it's because you need to surrender more to God. I know it's not easy, it is challenging, but again, like I mentioned, surrendering is an action. It's an action that we take, and the more we are able to let go, especially when we don't even know the outcome, it's terrifying, it is scary, but it's also a great opportunity for us to see how God would come through and show up, and that would also help to boost our level of trust in God. So that's something I really just want to share with you. It's also, part of my journey as well, my surrendering journey. It's not been easy, but definitely I'm very grateful for the progress so far. And I'm just learning more and more to surrender more, to let go, especially when I don't understand, to let go, especially when I may be terrified, just to let go of the outcome. Because when we try to control the outcome, or when we focus on that things will not go the way we expect, it's going to be difficult for us to surrender. So just surrendering, letting go of our own understanding, letting go of what we think is the right thing per se, and relinquishing control. And when we do that, we free ourselves up to take more action. We free ourselves up to make good progress. And in doing it as well, when we see good results, we'll be able to trust God more and also trust the process more and more. So that's something I really want to share with you today. And I hope that you get to give yourself the opportunity to trust God more by surrendering more to Him. and that in doing all of that, that you'll enjoy more peace and joy in your life. So thank you very much for watching, and as usual, don't forget that you're more than enough, you're worthy, you're deserving, you are loved. Let's go have an awesome and a greatly tremendous week ahead. Take care. Franklin here. God bless and peace.